Okay, thank you for joining us tonight. We'll call to order the Truth and Taxation meeting for Tuesday, December 19th, 2023 for the city of Nisswa. First item is a review of the proposed 24 budget and 2023 pay 2024 levy. Jenny?
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. Good evening, members of the council, and welcome to everybody who's here tonight. As the mayor mentioned, tonight is our public hearing to discuss the 2024 budget and our 2023 pay 2024 City of Nisswa property tax levy. I will begin today by doing a brief presentation for the public so they have an awareness and understanding of the budget process that we go through, information about our levy, and then we will open it up to public comment for the council to hear feedback. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jenny Max. I am the Nisswa City Administrator. And as I mentioned, I'll go through the presentation tonight, and then you're welcome to come up and provide your comment. When you come up, please state your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. The final approval of the budget and levy will be at the regular council meeting tonight at 7 o'clock. First, I want to just give a thank you and a shout out to city staff for their efforts in developing the budget and providing input and guidance to the council along the way. The budget process encompasses a good chunk of the entire year and different seasons and different degrees of detail that we get into. So it is a detailed process, and we thank staff, especially Maggie, our finance specialist, for working on all the spreadsheets and the details that go into making all of this happen. So a state statute requires that we hold a public hearing annually to discuss the upcoming levy for a chance for the public to give their comment and their feedback. The parameters are there on the screen as far as the time and what must occur during the meeting. This meeting is not intended to discuss property valuations or classifications. That is handled by Crow Wing County. The numbers are on the screen for you, and it will be again on the slide at the end for anyone who wants to discuss specific valuations or classifications information with the county. A few documents we have available tonight that are in the entryway of the council chambers. We have a 2024 budget summary, and we have our tax impact model. Both of those items I will discuss here tonight, so you have an understanding of the documents and how to work with them and read them. And then also we have financial information on our city website. Following approval tonight, we'll work to finalize the documents for 2024, and we'll put them on the website as well. Also want to remind the public that you can sign up to be notified of website updates via our website. On the home page at the very top, it says sign up for e-notify, and you can get emails or text messages when certain pages are updated, so you can keep up to date with a lot of city business that is conducted, such as council meetings. So I will start to go through what our budget process was this past year and talk about our general fund budget, because that is the primary focus with respect to our levy. We'll talk about the final levy information and just property valuations from a big picture perspective and how we use that when we are working through the budget process. So here's a snapshot of what the budget process of the schedule looks like, In April, the city council held its first ever all-day retreat and was able to hear from all departments about what departments are working on, what they're planning on, and really the major components for the upcoming budget that the council can expect to see during the summer months. Starting in June, we had a handful of budget workshops where we worked through various items with respect to salaries or wages, supplies, all kinds of capital projects, things like that. And in September, the council set a preliminary levy. In October or November, the county mails the property tax statements, and tonight in December, we approve the final levy. So in September, the council set a preliminary levy at 13% above the 2023 levy. A lot of that had to do with the fact that there were still some specific information pieces that we were looking for more detail on before the council could make a final decision. And so they wanted to make sure they had some room to work with between the preliminary and the final levy. Tonight, the council is looking to set the final levy. They can change this if they choose to do so, but we've been directed to set the information at 8.99% above the 2023 levy, which reflects a 14.81% in the general fund budget, and I will discuss that in a little more detail. This is the cover page for our citywide budget document and our capital improvement plan. As I mentioned earlier, once everything is finalized tonight, we will then work to finalize these documents and have them available for the council and the public, staff, et cetera. That will encompass a variety of things, includes our history of Nisswa. It speaks to our comprehensive plan, our strategic plan, and then a variety of budget-related items, citywide, general fund, our enterprise funds, et cetera, our debt service, and our capital improvement plans. I think it's important to take a moment and talk about what goes into how our budget is created, because it's not just looking at the financial components of the operations of the city. Most are familiar with the idea of the city's comprehensive plan, which is the 30,000-foot view of the guiding document for the city to say, what do we want, where do we want to go in the next 10 to 20 years? And what are the major goals and initiatives we're going to support in order to get there? In 2021, the city adopted its first strategic plan, and the strategic plan gives departments more actionable specific items in order to help achieve the comprehensive plan. It gives us a detailed roadmap in the how we're going to achieve those goals. And at the end, the budget is the way that we link all of those things together, because at the end of the day, we need funds, we need resources, and to figure out what revenues are going to come in order to achieve our strategic plan goals and ultimately our comprehensive plan goals. With respect to our strategic plan goals, on the screen, you'll see that overall, we're looking to provide a true experience in Nisswa for what kind of city services that are best needed for our residents and our businesses. So we're promoting best practices, we're maximizing our services and revenues, et cetera. And it's really a roadmap to help us plan for the future. We have 5 categories within our strategic plan, and this is where we get into the nuts and bolts of our budgeting process. With our long-range infrastructure plan, we talk about our capital needs as far as buildings, equipment, and the public capital infrastructure, such as our roads and our wastewater and all of those components, and planning for the future so that we can slowly put away money every year to hopefully pay for things like HVAC systems or new equipment, trucks, et cetera. Our policies and ordinances are important to be synchronized, and they're important to be reflective of the work and the goals that we want to achieve for our residents and businesses. So if the work we're doing today doesn't match what our ordinances say, we need to make sure that those are in line. We want to be a great place to work and work to improve our employee retention and satisfaction in order to keep the employees we have, to retain them, and also to attract new employees when we need to do that. We discuss operations efficiency and making sure that we're not duplicating efforts when we don't need to do that. So if we can achieve one outcome by utilizing different departments, we'd like to take that opportunity to do that when possible. And we want to ensure that our staff is equipped with the right equipment and the right tools to ensure that they have a safe working environment and they have the things they need to get their work done. So as we bring that into the budget, with respect to governmental budgeting, our city budgets are divided into funds based on their purposes of revenue and expenditures. So we group those things together so that we can see the activity from one specific purpose without bringing in other activities that might mix up what the ultimate, success is for that fund. Within our governmental funds, we have our general fund and our debt service fund. So our general fund includes the typical governmental services that we're used to seeing: police, planning and zoning, city clerk, et cetera. Our debt service fund just houses the activity for our bonds that we issue. And then our proprietary funds or our enterprise funds include our liquor funds, which we have 2, Spirits of Nisswa and the Pickle Factory, and we have our sewer fund. Those funds are all self-sustaining, meaning we don't need to contribute money from our general fund to help the operations of those funds, which is very positive and reflects a good operations mindset and a good budgeting practice within those funds. And then we have non-major funds. The non-major is reflective of just the size of the fund itself. They're smaller than our general fund and some of our other funds. And that includes our Parks and Rec, Community Center, any capital project funds we might have, and or special revenue funds. So at a high level, citywide budget summary, we'll focus on the general fund, which is included in that governmental funds number. On the top half of the screen, you'll see our 2023 current budget reflects a $3,685,000 revenue and expenditure budget for our governmental funds. It was a balanced budget this year. And on the bottom half of the screen, you'll see our proposed budget under our governmental funds. Again, that includes our general fund at $4,231,238. Revenues and expenditures are the same, again, reflecting a balanced budget. And that reflects a 14.81% increase. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, the final proposed levy for 2024 is at 8.99%. So there's a difference between the levy and the budget increase. The reason for that is because there are other revenue streams that the city has for 2024 that offset the need to bring up the levy as much as the budget. So we have other components that are coming in, specifically state dollars that are coming in 2024. So we don't have to raise the levy as much as the budget is. A couple slides for you that just have more visual representation of the breakdown of revenues by category. So for our general fund, you can see that we have the largest component is our levy via property taxes, which reflects 81%. Then the other two categories are large categories that we have. We have an intergovernmental category, which is 7% of our revenues. Some of that is one-time funding for 2024. And so that will be an adjustment when we discuss the 2025 budget next year. And then the third category is the transfer from our liquor fund at 7%. So Spirits of Nisswa and the Pickle Factory actually transfer money into the general fund to help offset the levy. That amount is $290,000 for 2024. It was raised from 2023 by $25,000, which is the equivalent of 1 levy percent. On the expenditure side, here is a breakdown of expenditures by department. You will see that Public Works accounts for 25%, Police accounts for 24%. We have our debt service at 14%, and unallocated expense at 13% are our four largest categories. The unallocated expense includes a couple of major items, one of which is that the city, along the similar lines that we get money from the liquor fund to offset our levy, we also contribute to our Parks and Rec and our community center funds to help keep them solvent and keep them operating. So that is a portion of what that 13% means. And then the other part is our citywide insurance. A lot of those costs aren't really attributable to specific buildings or equipment. And so we just run that under unallocated because it includes all departments, all buildings, all equipment, etc. One other way to look at expenditures is by category. You will see that personnel services reflects 43% of our expenditures, which isn't a surprise because we are a service-oriented business. And typically within government, I would say 40 to 60% is where you'll see personnel services in that range. We have services and utilities. That would account for professional services, utilities cost, training. There's another larger one, but that comprises 18%. Software costs and technology is an increasing expense that is under that category as well. Our debt service again is 14%, and you'll see that transfer to the other fund. That is the transfer to the Parks and the Community Center. So this is the citywide budget summary sheet that is available for the public. You'll note at the top right side of the spreadsheet, there is the 14.81% increase in general fund revenues. And at the bottom right, you'll see the 14.81% increase in general fund expenditures. So again, a balanced budget for 2024. Part of the discussion throughout the summer months when we look at budget is just what inflation is doing and what potential impact that might have on our budgeting process and our approach. So we just have this information here for reference. Certainly started off higher in the beginning of the year than where we are now. And so we just keep an eye on that and see how and when that might affect what we do for planning purposes for the next year. For 2024, I've highlighted here the major components of the additions to our budget. Doesn't account for any subtractions or adjustments that way. There are a lot of moving parts within the budget as a whole. But these were new items or additional items that were most easily identifiable. Staff wages and benefits accounts for 4.4% of the increase. We have a new employee, or we will be recruiting for a new employee for our police department and office administrator, which is 3%. A new employee in public works at a half year, recruiting and hiring sometime in the June, July, August timeframe, which would be about 1.5. Our investment in our capital improvement plan, that goes back to our strategic plan and the long-range infrastructure planning. So that's to put away money for improvements to buildings or new equipment, things like that, 1.76. And then 2024 is the year where we complete a compensation study. So we do that every 3 years, and 2024 is when we will do that. So we have a 0.4% increase there. So one more just quick recap. So in September, the council approved a 13% preliminary levy. That was the maximum set amount for 2024. So it can't go higher than that at that point. It can only go lower. In mid-November, the county mailed the property tax statements out to everyone. And so your statement that you have reflects the 13% increase. Tonight, as we're discussing, the council will be looking to approve a final levy at 8.99% over 2023. So that is a 4% decrease from the preliminary and reflects an overall budget increase for the city of the 14.81%. Tonight's our public hearing, and the council will approve the final levy and budget during their regular council meeting. This is just a levy look back with historical information over the last 10 years. I can provide that to anyone if you're interested. Primarily wanted to mention in the last piece of the presentation here is the increase in property valuations from the prior year. So with your tax statements that have been mailed out reflects an overall citywide increase in valuations of just under 10%. And we use that when we look at when we build that into this tax impact model. And what this document will show you is the change in your tax due from one year to the next. And on the top right side of the document, you'll see the two numbers that I've referenced a couple of times. So that 9.93% is the change or the increase in our property valuations citywide. And then the 8.99% is the proposed final levy amount for 2024. So that again is just showing the valuation change, just under 10%. And then it helps sometimes to look at maybe what an actual impact would be for a valuation. So in this example, for residential homestead property, if in 2023, the valuation was $200,000, and using that 10% increase, we increased the valuation of that home to $220,000, the increase in tax due to the city for 2024 would be $52. One more example to reflect that if we had a homestead property at $400,000 in value, that increased to $440,000 in value, the increase in the tax impact would be $96. We like to show this information just for reference and to kind of see where our services and costs compare align with other area cities. So Nisswa is the 6th lowest tax rate for 2024 proposed in Crow Wing County. We are 2nd lowest when comparing like cities. Cross Lake is the other similar city in providing the types of services that Nisswa provides. So I'd like to show that. That's been very consistent over the years. It doesn't change, fluctuate too much. I think we've typically been the 5th lowest tax rate, and this year we were the 6th, but things adjust a little bit, and especially with the change in property valuations countywide over the last handful of years, sometimes that's understandable that happens. Just another slide to show the visual of the increase in Nisswa's market values over the last 5 years. In 2022, there was a significant jump. It was about 35% from the prior year. And as you can see, it continues to increase. As a percentage, in 2022, the residential and seasonal categories of valuations, which reflects the red and the blue on the left-hand side there, is 91.2%. And our commercial, which is the green, is 8.3%. For 2023, the same residential and seasonal classifications are 90.9%, and commercials in the orange is 8.6%. Very similar from year over year. So as just to recap quickly, our final 2023 levy recommendation for pay 2024 is $3,400,951, which reflects an 8.99% levy increase, resulting in a general fund budget increase of 14.81%. At this time, the council will hear public comment with any feedback or questions you might have. I'd be happy to answer any questions as needed. Please state your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. And I will have our contact information on the screen here, again, with Crow Wing County's information for anyone who might like that information as well. And I will turn it back over to Mayor Wren. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment? Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on the matter? To that hand. Okay. And as the city administrator stated, if you have any questions, reference, just anytime, call us, let us know. Come on in, set up an appointment with them, whoever, and we'll be more than happy to sit down and answer your questions. So there's nothing further, then we will close public comments and we can adjourn. And we will re-adjourn as was stated, and we will be back at 7 for the regular council meeting, at which time we'll vote on the actual final budget. So I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adjourn the Truth and Taxation meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you for coming.